I actually think one of the headlines is more true than typically is when a matchup like this happens.
Which headline are we speaking of?
Lamar Jackson versus Jayden Daniels.
Ooh.
Because most of the time when people say that, they're Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes. And it's like, you know who's never going to be on the field at the same time? Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. Now, I'm not telling you that secretly Jayden Daniels is about to play defense. No. Nor am I about to telling you that secretly Lamar Jackson is about to play defense. No. That's not what I mean. But I do think in this game on Sunday, the game flow is so obscenely important because for all of the tests that the Commanders have passed, they have not in the second half of any game had to deal with, especially defensively, being down. What happens when a team just lines up and tries to ram the football down your throat? What happens when that then exposes you to potential play action shots because you're dedicated to the run because you're trying to be aggressive and get the ball back? What does it mean offensively for Jayden Daniels and company if they no longer feel like they can be quite as balanced? Because I do believe that Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn would stay balanced until you absolutely just have to start kind of chucking it. And you're, the point of the basketball game where you have to shoot threes. But, keep attacking the basket, stay disciplined. That in the football, just run, keep running the football, keep them honest. But we know that this team would rather be run first and play a lot of the short stuff and then wait for their opportunities to take shots downfield. They don't want to force anything. So what happens if they're in a game flow situation where they're not up or tied in the second half, where they're chasing the game? That is one of the tests outside of the ones that just naturally come with time because, can they continue to adapt week over week? Well, they can't prove that until they do it. But I think in that way, the Lamar Jackson versus Jayden Daniels matchup is far more real this week because they really are trying to push each other into a place they don't want to be. Because, by the way, Lamar Jackson also is as great as he has become as a passer, would much prefer to be in a balanced game flow where he doesn't have to make a ton of throws. He can make big explosive plays. And in many ways, the way Lamar plays is how Jayden played last week, where it's not the most consistent from the pocket. It's not just, hey, we're going to dink and dunk and operate and drop back all day long in the way that a Joe Burrow or even a Mahomes can do. But he'll find big explosive plays to make up for some of the inaccuracy along the way or some of the misreads, and obviously explosive plays with his arm. He's a good downfield thrower. They have good concepts to take advantage of certain things, and he is the best running quarterback in the sport, however many years he's been in the league running. And so if Lamar feels like he's got to sit back and pass, can he do it? Yeah. Ask the Bengals. That's what he did last week, and they scored ultimately 41. Obviously, some of that coming in overtime, but 38 in regulation. And that Cincinnati defense is fairly awful, but they played better last week than they had previously. But can he do it against a Washington defense that may have found itself a little bit? Like, this is the question. And so I think unlike a lot of times where we have these quarterback marquee matchups and like they're exciting to watch. I'm not trying to diminish that, every time we hype up any of these MVP level guys facing off that we shouldn't get excited. I just think this week with the way that these teams want to play, if one of them can force the issue upon the other one, that becomes a much bigger impact on the outcome than some, I would say, more mature football teams that can win multiple ways or have proven they can win multiple ways, a la, say, the Kansas City Chiefs over the years.
I feel like when we, preview this game, the headline is Lamar versus Jayden, but I feel as though when we look at the two quarterbacks, I feel as though Lamar, I don't know, I guess where he's come from, we've seen how early in his career he wasn't able to, beat everybody from the pocket. He wasn't able to do that. And I just feel like the trajectory of his career has allowed him to, find ways to, beat us more than one way. He could lean on the run game. He could beat us from the pocket. And I think last week we saw him do just that. They had They didn't have two safeties over the top. They had one safety over the top, and a lot of people in the box trying to stop Derrick Henry. And he proved to everybody that he could, beat it from the pocket. So I think we're just excited to see two playmakers, to be honest, go out there and just put their best foot forward. I think Jayden, he's shown that he can lean on the quick game, the run game, but he's also shown that he can extend the play and make explosive plays. So
for sure, and maybe he can, but like, what happens again when the game flow is a little bit different? Now, I would say the Cincinnati game's the closest we've gotten to something like that, and he needed to make big plays, and he did. He was unbelievable. The chances that he could go 90% again are probably not very good because, again, like, that's not a thing you do in the NFL. There's a reason that was a record, and so I'm excited to see how it plays out. I do have a lot of faith in Jayden to live up to the moment. It is going to be really interesting, though, because Washington, obviously, some run defense issues. Baltimore's pass defense is ranked 31st in the league. So there is a lot here. As for the last word on this, before we get to a great conversation with Ben Solak from ESPN coming up at 4:15 and tell you what else we got coming up on the show. Dan Quinn was asked today about the Jayden versus Lamar matchup.
Yeah, they're not playing against each other. Both of them would be great cornerbacks. There's no question about it. But, they're not playing against each other. Both of them are fantastic players and cause all sorts of problems for defensive coaches. But both of them would probably tell you they got to control what they can, and how well they can play and going to do that. So I respect the storyline for you, but at the end of it, man, he's got to absolutely, do his thing and playing the position. And that's what's really cool for us to see, the development at the position. Sometimes that doesn't show up on just a throw. It's checking into, a play against a blitz. It's, checking into a third down play on a screen to Austin to, convert. It's using your legs. And so playing the position and throwing it well, doing all that, that's where, the focus is for him. And I know he has great regard for Lamar, like a lot of us do. But, they're not playing against each other. And so they're playing, their groups against, their respective defenses.
But when that scoreboard is going ching, 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 there is a little bit of that back and forth. There is a little bit of hey, I'm here too. And I think it's well put by Dan. That would be what I was telling him. But that game flow is going to be, what's the score when? It's simply what that means. And obviously, you want to be ahead because then you're ahead, and being ahead is better than being behind. But it changes how the game goes, and that is something that I do think we will be discussing all week long here as we preview, and something that we'll be looking for during the game on Sunday.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.